It is already time to start the meeting. We've also formed a quorum, so I declare the meeting open. For this meeting, we're having a special session in relation to the policy address. I think we're simply going through the motion. Let's invite the representatives from the administration to join us. So I would like to invite the Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development to give us a briefing on the policy address delivered by the Chief Executive. I think we have already got a full team from the administration with the Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, the Permanent Secretary, Ms. Susie Ho, and Mr. Zhou Wang, Deputy Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, Ms. Eliza Lee, Director General of Communications, Mr. Vincent Liu, Deputy Director of Film, Newspaper and Article Administration, Mr. Daniel Lai, Government Chief Information Officer, Mr. Roy Tang, Director of Broadcasting, and Mr. Jerry Liu, Head of Create Hong Kong. Perhaps, first of all, I would like to give the floor to the Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development to give us a brief opening statement. And then that will be followed by questions from members and comments, 3 members each, because we have only 1 hour in this session. Secretary. Mr. Chairman, members, in the policy address, the CE pointed out that we need a diversified and sustainable economic development. We want the economy to thrive. We want to have more jobs. We have the conditions to develop ICT, creative industries, and innovation and new technology. It takes time to nurture the industries and to invest in them, and we have to move with the times. In this regard, we have put in a lot of efforts, and we have also achieved some outcome. And the paper has already set out the various measures under the Communications and Technology branch of the Commerce and Economic Development Bureau. In relation to innovation and technology, I'm going to make a report to the Commerce and Industry panel. Here, I would like to focus on ICT, creative industries, broadcasting, and telecommunications. First of all, ICT. ICT is important for our development. The government attaches a lot of importance to the development in this regard. All along, we have been very positive in relation to the application and development of ICT, and we have been facilitating the development and application of ICT by various sectors in the society that suits them. And the adoption and development of cloud computing is a good example. In fact, the Office of the Government Chief Information Officer has already, in accordance with the government cloud computing strategy, plans to invest $242 million in the next 5 years to construct the government cloud platform. Before end of 2013, we're going to launch the first phase of the government cloud computing service, covering electronic information management, collaborative work, electronic procurement, among other electronic government services. To facilitate and promote the use of cloud computing in Hong Kong, we have set up a platform so that mainland and Hong Kong experts may have an opportunity to exchange views, and we'll also be announcing the cloud computing services and standards in relation to security and privacy, interoperability, and portability. We'll also study how to make use of cloud computing so as to have the right software and services to facilitate the SMEs to make great use of ICT and to develop our digital economy. With the rapid development of ICT, we have to follow closely the latest trends. Therefore, we are going to have an overall review of the 2008 Digital 21 strategy so that we can decide on the direction, objectives, and roadmap for our long-term development of our ICT industry. And we'll continue to have a number of measures for the sake of digital inclusion so as to help the elder as well as the disabled persons, among other disadvantaged groups, to make greater use of ICT. Creative industries, we have the Create Smart initiative to the tune of $300 million. As at the end of December 2012, we've already granted 121 projects to the tune of $240 million to facilitate the development of creative industries in Hong Kong. We're going to top up the scheme by another $300 million so as to support the following measures: nurturing talents, developing markets, building brands, and also the hosting of mega creative events so that Hong Kong can become Asia's creative capital to nurture our new generation of film talents. And for the sake of our long-term development, Create Hong Kong is going to launch the first feature film initiative this year. So that through screenplay and creative proposals competitions, 3 winning entries will be selected, and then the Film Development Fund will provide full subsidy to help them to produce their films, and this will support the new film practitioners with no prior experience in directing commercial films. For this year, there will be 2 landmark buildings in relation to the creative industries, that is Comics Home Base as well as PMO. They will be commissioned. Create Hong Kong will assist in the relevant publicity and promotion. We hope that they will become the creative clusters of Hong Kong so that they become a very important platform for the promotion of our comics and animation industry as well as our design industry. Next, I would like to turn to the telecommunications service. In March this year, we are going to release new radio spectrum by means of auction. And in the latter part of this year, we are going to deal with the future arrangements for frequency spectrum. Upon expiry of the existing frequency assignments for the 3G mobile service, and they will expire in October 2016. We are going to monitor the various measures for the regulation and publicity of the telecommunication services, including the customer complaint settlement scheme launched in November last year to protect consumers' interests. Broadcasting will continue with the further improvement of our digital terrestrial television service. We want to increase the take-up rate of the digital audio broadcasting. In terms of public service broadcasting, Radio Television Hong Kong will be active in the various developments, including DAB, pilot community involvement in broadcasting service, preparing for DTT, and making preparations for the new broadcasting house in Tseung Kwan O. On this note, I end my briefing, and I hope that members will give us a lot of favorable comments concerning the different areas under my portfolio. Thank you. Thank you, Secretary. Next, I would like to give the floor to our members. I would like to read out the list of members going to ask questions, 3 minutes each. First of all, members as well as non-panel members, Wong Kok-heng, Mok Lai Kwong, Sin Chung Kai, Ma Fong Kwok, Elizabeth Kwok, Chen Chi-chun, Mo Mang-jing, Wong Kok-heng first, 3 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm a non-panel member. Mr. Chairman, I've got 2 questions. First of all, creative industries. There are only 5 paragraphs in your paper for this area. So what is your target? Do you have a figure concerning the number of talents for this area? How come that you're sure that we can consolidate our status as the creative hub of Asia? You're going to spend money, but are we going to see results? And then for the Comics Home Base, you talk about commissioning it in summer this year. What is the surface area? How many people will be involved? How many people will be attracted? And why are you going to launch the publicity targeting at Wan Chai? Why not the entirety of Hong Kong? Secretary, I would like to invite the head of Create Hong Kong to answer the questions. Yes, Mr. Liu. For the first question, that is, what are the targets so that Hong Kong can become Asia's creative hub? Well, there are 3 points in relation to our strategy. First of all, of course, we want to nurture the talents, and we want to encourage the new companies to grow systematically. In this regard, in the past 5 years, we have already helped 121 newcomers, and in fact, the Create Smart initiative in the past 3.5 years' time have directly created 2,100 jobs. Other than the creation of jobs through the initiative, in Hong Kong, we have already hosted a series of international or Asian creative events. Mr. Chairman, owing to the lack of time, please invite the administration to give us the target figure, the number of talents to be nurtured. I want to get a direct answer. Mr. Chairman, yes, I'll try my best to answer the question. Currently, through the post-secondary educational institutions and universities, in terms of creative industries and design disciplines, 3,200 graduates are trained every year. Under the Office of Create Hong Kong, we hope that we can systematically channel the 3,200 talents to the various disciplines of creative industries. What about comics home base in Wan Chai? Why are you targeting Wan Chai only instead of Hong Kong as a whole? Well, we are going to have the Anycom Summer, and it is going to be the first phase of our publicity campaign. As to why we're going to host it in Wan Chai, this is because there are three major projects or three major items. First of all, at the Arts Center, we are going to have a 2-week film festival covering animation features. And then at Jockey Club, we are going to have a carnival. It is going to be a publicity event or promotional event. And thirdly, every year at the Hong Kong Convention Center, as part of the Animation Week, we have an exhibition. Since we are having three major events, therefore we hope that we can attract the visitors to come to Wan Chai so that they can also be attracted to the site in Marlow Street. Thank you. Next, Mr. Charles Mock. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, two questions from me. Digital 21 strategy. Eventually, we are going to have another review. It is a piece of good news. But then I do have a comment. I hope that you can change the name. The title has been used for over 10 years. I think you need to think of something new. This is important for our industry. In the year of 2008, Hon Members already suggested that there should be deliverables for the strategy. I really hope that on this occasion you will take this into account seriously. And then about the development of data centers, a lot of us in the industry have already said that it is too slow and too unclear in relation to the provision of land. Last time you talked about 2 hectares of land. It is only in the middle of this year we are going to have the auctioning of the first site occupying 1 hectare of land. So that we're worried. And then we're also concerned about the availability of manpower. A lot will be developed, and yet we are not sure whether you have got the talents.
Well, there's a Greenpeace article. Singapore, in respect of data centers, they introduced data center standards. They take into account environmental qualities, and they provide incentives for energy saving. Now, Hong Kong's digital development, data development has to take these matters into issue too. Now, you should offer tax incentives for energy saving, etc., for SMEs. I know many large data centers have already invested in energy saving equipment, but you should do something in this regard. 1 minute for the 2 responses, and 1 question involves 3 smaller ones. First, Digital 21 strategy, should that be changed? The name, should it be changed? And also energy saving and data centers, etc. Mr. Lai? On the name, we will consult the industry, and we will invite the industry to join in the review of the Digital 21, which is the name currently used. Well, we will consider other proposals in respect of the name Intelligent City. Now, as for data centers, last June, we suggested retrofitting or modeling industrial buildings. Now the reaction has been very favorable. We have received 4 applications. The first has been approved. The other 3 are now being examined. Now the first concerning green data centers. Now we have already come up with some guidelines that are shared with the trade, and recently there's a company that's planning to come to Hong Kong to set up a data center, and they are talking about reusable energy. We will certainly introduce the greenest centers possible with least emissions. Now, I hope they will provide tax incentives, etc. Next, Sin Chung Kai, in your document, page 30, paragraph 32, you said that the Hong Kong government will continue to adopt Cap 5862 procedures to handle the applications from the 3 applicants, and you will announce the results as quickly as possible. But the CE yesterday said that there's a court case going on. Now, well, a court case is easy. You can have lawyers and you can go on forever. And you can have case after case. Now, is it that so long as there's a case, government will not issue new license? Will that let the government drag its feet? Now, the TV license generates many creative industries, and that's much more than the 3 million create initiative that the government is offering. Now, with 2 more TV stations that will promote the development of creative industries. Now, many famous directors right now have developed their talents, gaining experience in the 70s and 80s. And they have now become internationally renowned directors. So TV is an incubative base for creative talents. But the government has delayed in the issue of the licenses repeatedly. And at LegCo, in the new term, we have seen many new issues and debates. And in the latest debate, we hope that the government could issue the license in the first quarter, according to our motion. Now, the government said it will announce the results as quickly as possible. Well, does it have to wait till the court cases are concluded? Is there such a link? The government cannot assure us that there won't be more court cases after this one. 30 seconds left. Strict limit, please, Secretary. Now, when legal procedures are in process, I cannot comment on the matters concerned. Now, in 1998, after the review on TVs, our policy has been very clear. That is, we will open up the market. Yes, but you haven't issued license. Let him answer, please, Mr. Sin. Now, the policy remains the same, and in the whole matter, we will consider the overall benefits for the economy and the industry. Now, on 25th of January, our panel will have a special meeting on the free TV license issue. Now, several organizations, including the two existing license holder, ATV and TVB, they will send in representatives, and two of the three applicants, that is Citycom and also Fantastic TV Limited, they will also be there. Now, we will let these organizations add their views. So please let us have more information. Next, Mr. Ma Fong Kwok. I'd like to ask about films. The government said that there will be a new feature film scheme. Now, I think this is a correct initiative, one that I support, and we do face an issue of succession of talents. Now, I'm not concerned about quantity, but how do you assess the impact? Now, the Film Development Fund provided funding for certain films. Some of them incurred losses, so some people didn't understand it and they leveled a lot of criticisms. Now, same with new directors, there's a certain risk involved. I don't mind losses, now that's quite normal, but I'm concerned about the effectiveness. How can you provide opportunities to these new talented directors? Now, also, the rentals are more and more expensive. There are less cinemas. We have half the number of seats as 20 years ago. Now, even if you have a full box office, you can't afford to pay the rent. So how does the government plan to deal with that? You have to let him answer because we have little time. The secretary will the director of Create Hong Kong answer, Mr. Yun? On the first question, now, this time, through the first feature film, now, once it's made, how can we sustain the initiative with the directors? Now, for instance, Mak Hei Yan at the time, he was an outstanding film student at CityU, and upon graduation, he had the opportunity to direct his first film. And as a result, the film companies were able to see his ability and give him second and third and fourth chances. Now, on the other questions about cinemas, now, right now, on the number of seats of cinemas, the shrinking now of it, that number, is it directly related to the Hong Kong film industry development? Now the government is conducting a study on that, and the relevant information should be available in the third month of the year, and we will provide the findings of the analysis to the organizations concerned. Now, next, Ms. Kwok. Now, I have three questions very quickly. Now, all along, we've been talking for a long time about R&D input being inadequate. It's only 0.7% of GDP right now. The CE in his election platform said that he will attach a lot of importance to investment in science and technology. Now, how much increase in investment will there be? Will there be long and medium-term measures? Now, also about green data centers. Now, in 2009, I already submitted the first paper to government on the promotion of green technology and green data centers. But in the past few years, I haven't seen the government any progress on the part of government in that regard. Now, in the future, will the government work with the industry to promote green technology and green data centers and introduce green data standards? And government said that it will introduce new initiatives to set up a Bureau on Science and Technology. Will that take up? Would that be a matter of 2 or 3 years, or what? Now, on science and technology development, now that's another panel in relation to the CED Bureau. Now you can inquire there. Now on green data centers, that has been discussed by Mr. Mok Nai Kwong, and on the Science Technology Bureau. Now on the adoption of green technology, now all along the government has been very supportive of that, and right now the government procurements have adopted these green standards. Now, as for whether the trade needs a green data center set of standards, now if there is such a request, we will consider that. But I remember that in 2009, at the time, some members of the industry felt that there was no need, and that this might pose a hurdle for the development of more data centers, so it was not adopted at the time. Now we will look at the demand from the trade to see we need a set of standards that are Hong Kong's alone. Now we must have the members' support for the development of the Science and Technology Bureau. We will maintain close contact with the members. We have 9 members of the queue, 3 minutes each. Ma Fong Kwok has raised hand for second round. Now, can you skip that 2 minutes? Because I have to wrap this up by 5:30. Because you don't need to repeat the members' questions. Now, I had to remind, for instance, Ms. Kwok that she was her question was not exceeded the scope. Ms. Lau, now we are very frustrated by ATV. The government has to step up the progress on new licenses. Now on public service broadcasting, RTHK says that the government is trying to prevent its effective working, and you send in an administrative officer. Now, do you plan to let a person from the industry be the director instead? And how about the broadcasting complex? Now, when's the last time, Mr. Secretary, you went to RTHK? The equipment was really antiquated. Well, will you fire Mr. Tang? Chairman, this is not an issue we are going to discuss today. Why not? Now, he wanted to leave. Now, he was going to raise his hand to answer your second question. Now, on the progress on the new complex, I will ask Mr. Tang to answer. I'd like the director to answer how the government is putting obstacles in the way of RTHK. Now, on the new building, we have completed design, and the tendering is afoot, and by the end of this year we will report to the PWSC, and we will formally invite tenders early next year, and we hope that the new Chek Wan O complex will be completed well in time. Now, on the resources for RTHK, it's not a matter of resources. They are talking about the government trying to gradually weaken RTHK to death. Now, on the manpower of RTHK, the government has increased the manpower by 122 at RTHK, and the amount of funds input is now $600 million. Now I'd like to ask the director whether you try to constrain the freedom of the editorial staff. Now we have a professional team on that. There is no such risk. Now on the first feature film.
I think it is merely a competition. If someone wins the competition, then the three winners will have their films being produced. As to how many talents we can nurture, but then by making use of participatory observation, maybe I will try to take part in the first feature film competition to see what will come out of it. I understand that it is going to be funded by the Film Development Fund. How much will be given? Are you going to fund the production? And what about the release? And if they make a profit, do they have to share it with the fund? And for you to help the young generation to get engaged in film industries, please make it fully accessible. Many students have told me that if they want to shoot a film for the purpose of graduation, it is very difficult to get permission to shoot the films either in a public area or at a private site. Mr. Liu. Mr. Chairman, in relation to the funding, allow me to give an answer first. Well, the Film Development Fund is going to set aside $9.85 million for this purpose. $8 million will be directly plowed into the production of the three winning entries, and then the rest will be administrative costs to host the competition. We need to have independent assessors to vet each and every participating entry, like the screen play as well as other related information. We also need to coordinate various post-secondary institutions as well as independent film-related organizations to get involved in the nomination process. So it is going to be a vigorous process. There will be a number of mechanisms to select better entries for the final adjudication. As to whether the government will be refunded, well, there's no need for it because for the student group, there will be $2 million for each winner, and then for the professional group, $4 million for each winning entrant. So that's purely for production. Now, for students having to shoot their graduation project, they may have difficulties in getting the location. Well, in fact, students' difficulties can be sort of addressed since we have a group to assist the commercial filmmakers to find the location sites. Mr. Tang. It is said that the government assists with the development of the creative industries, but then SMEs in creative industries are not able to beat the overseas big players, so it is difficult for them to survive and develop. The government has been saying that since we are a member of the WTO, we have to treat both overseas and local businessmen the same. But then in overseas countries, though they are also members of WTO, they are able to give concessionary treatment to their national businessmen. So I want to know whether the government can give some assistance to the SMEs in Hong Kong, allow them to be at an advantage, or how you're going to enhance their competitiveness in this regard. Who's going to give an answer? Last week, during the question time of the electrical meeting, I already addressed this point. We have to operate within the framework of the WTO, but still there's room to maneuver, and we are able to cater for the needs of the SMEs, so we can have tenders which allow SMEs to take part. So we have been working as an interdepartmental team to help the SMEs. Mr. Ho, please be more specific. What has been done by the government in the past? Mr. Chairman, we need to follow the international requirements. However, in terms of the deposit, if there is a bank guarantee, or in terms of the number of years, in terms of experience, and in terms of the amount of money involved, if we can lower the threshold, then we can make it competitive for the SMEs so that they can take part in government projects. Is it specific enough? Not yet. Then please follow up. I want to know whether the government is aware as to why local enterprises have not been successful in bidding for the government projects. What is the main reason? I hope you can find out about the reason. Secretary, some enterprises are not able to win the projects which are of a large scale. There are also emerging enterprises who cannot come up with a track record. Therefore, we try to have some pilot projects so that in the public corporations, in the quasi-government organizations, we can allow the enterprises to take part in pilot projects so that in future they can have a track record to show the government. Ms. Claudia Mo, I have to praise Mr. So. I think he's much better than his boss because he's able to give one more sentence in his reply, because he has said that for the domestic free TV market, he has added one more sentence. That is, he agrees that the market should be opened up, but he has yet to answer Mr. Sin Chung Kai's question. Whenever there is a court case, you will say that it is subjudiciary, and so you won't comment on it. You give people the impression, though this may not be true, but it does give people the impression that there is a collusion between the businessmen and the government. It is going to harm the government. It is going to hurt the government. I'm not going to ask for a direct answer to this question. Rather, I would put a question to the Director of Broadcasting directly. Roy Tang, I've always been a supporter of the RTHK, but then soon after you took up the office, you fired Sum, and it saddened me. He used to be the icon of RTHK, in particular his program of Freedom Phone. You fired him without saying much, and I think you were digging your own grave. At that time, you said that you would like to have new faces, you want to make the host younger. Now, I want to know about the popularity rating of that program. Used to be hosted by Mr. Ng. And if you want to nurture the new talents, you want to have younger program hosts. Have you achieved your targets, Director? Last year, there was a change of programming. I think it was a bottom-up editorial choice. The relevant team in relation to public affairs took into account the needs of the public as well as the need to nurture new talents. And so editors had a meeting, and then they suggested the change to the management. Now, currently, there are two morning programs. Mr. Yuk-man has already taken over the morning phone-in program, and in the afternoon, another new host has also taken up the post. Every year, we have asked the Hong Kong U to carry out a survey in relation to the rating, in relation to the latest one. It was only commenced in November last year. It is only in the following February or March that we get the outcome. Currently, I can't disclose the findings because the survey hasn't been completed. New hosts need time to warm up, so please don't give too much pressure on our new faces. Next, Ms. Sit Ho. When Mr. Ng Ji-sum was fired, I think they were talking about giving chances to the new hosts, and so Mr. Ng was removed. In the beginning, yes, in the guest hosts were quite young, including Mr. Wang Jifeng, but then Ouyang Dacho, Zhu Haidi, Chen Zhiqi, etc. are younger than Ng Ji-sum, but then Jiu Yingchun, Yang Jianheng, Pang Ziming, Margaret Ng, Lou Zijian, Lin Yingwang, Si Jiqing, etc. are all much older than Ng Ji-sum. So don't you think that you need to admit that you have failed in achieving having a new generation of hosts? If you have failed, should you not reconsider it? If had your target been silencing them, of course you have been successful. But then you need somebody who is familiar with public affairs, people who are well versed in the Hong Kong politics. Since you have to do this, you have to resort to this. So why are you doing this? But I haven't been invited, not even interviewed once. Director, I don't know what the question was, but I was trying to state the objective fact. Well, I tried to find out what question was asked, but in fact the chairman has asked this question, a new host, Chen Yinping, not just Chen Yinping, but in fact we have got also some other new team members. The chairman also referred to guest hosts. I think for guest hosts, they have to be replaced at least once every 6 months. Ms. Ho named a number of very experienced hosts, and they're knowledgeable. Of course, we are glad to have new viewpoints from them. Mr. Chairman, I have named many names because there were 12 guest hosts, and 2/3 of them are much older than Mr. Ng Ji-sum. So if you want younger hosts, it means only 1/3 of them are younger than Mr. Ng. And then for the guest hosts to be replaced once every 6 months, I think that was tailor-made for me so as to remove me. You're better than me. I haven't been invited as a guest host. At least you have been one. Well, I think we have to be more focused on the core issue. I think it is as simple as that. Director, please answer the question. They think that the hosts are not young enough, so please find more young hosts.
Of course, we like there to be more hosts, but the fact is that the hosts have become younger. Next, Yu Wing. Thank you, Chairman. Now, the government says that in 2013, there will be many new venues provided with Wi-Fi facilities. Now, will the government consider Wi-Fi coverage at tourist attractions such as Tsim Sha Tsui, Canton Road, Mong Kok? Now, secondly, to promote the application of ICT technology by SMEs starting in 2004, the government has introduced a number of initiatives. Now, for tourism sector in March 2009 in a couple of years thereafter, the government has injected some of money, but thereafter there has been no follow-up. Now, what does the government do with regard to these organizations which have received government help? Now, apart from government venues, will you provide Wi-Fi at tourist attractions? Now, right now, the government free Wi-Fi is only at government venues. Some are tourist venues. For instance, the new cruise terminal will be provided with Wi-Fi, and recently we extended Wi-Fi to some stadiums. Now, if the venues are not government facilities, we cannot enter to install these facilities. And there are now 2 commercial operators that provide or are installing Wi-Fi facilities in public venues such as shopping malls. Now, as long as there is demand in government venues, we will keep installing Wi-Fi. Now, on the electronic business initiative, now since 2007, we have introduced we have injected $19 million to help a number of industries, and we recently assisted, for instance, the retail sector, so these initiatives have been successful in helping the SMEs expand their business, and we have helped them in training. Next, Lo Wai Kwok. He hasn't answered my question. Which question? I asked him, for those trades which received such help, will there be follow-up, or will it be one-off? Now, I talked about the retail sector and business services. Now, the tourism sector, if they can make use of such electronic services, they will enjoy the benefit, but as for the follow-up effects, Mr. Lai, now in the tourism sector in 2004 to 5, there were 2 funding initiatives, and to our information, one was a so-called portal or website. Now that has been renewed and is now still being used, and the other is about training, and that has been concluded. Now there has also been a new customer account management system. Now the prototype has come out, and the tourism sector is using can use it free of charge. Mr. Mok, now the Secretary made clear that he is highlighting the work in science and technology, broadcasting, etc. Now, just now the question was asked on science technology, and it said that it should be under another panel, according to the chairman. Now, without a science technology bureau, the initiatives never become fully effective or adequate. So, if we are really talking about science and technology in the there should be a joint it should be a joint panel meetings or joint panel effort. Now, the IT Communications Bureau, now what would be the right time? Now, if the several parties in LegCo support the establishment of such a bureau, will you think that's the right time? Now, if it's still something too distant, will the government engage an undersecretary to be in charge of this area? Now, the LegCo arrangement is not that we will discuss creative technology, but we certainly would be willing to. Now, of course, we have to look at the government priorities, and we need the LegCo support. Now, if the LegCo supports this, we will, of course, work with the LegCo on the establishment of the Science and Technology Bureau. Now, on the undersecretary solely in charge of focusing on science and technology, will you do that? Will you engage such undersecretary? Now, I will actively consider that, but our undersecretaries do not just focus on one area, but we have to take into account all our priorities. Now on Wi-Fi, the government has done little has not done enough in promotion. Now on private communications, communications in the private sector is quite well developed, but I remember in the early days when cars travel in tunnels, the mobile phones cannot be used. But now when we enter elevators, lifts in government buildings and in many private buildings, the signals for mobile phones are very weak now. But in other countries in the mainland, within lifts and elevators, the signals can be well received in lifts. Well, what's the government doing in this regard? Now, on the signals in lifts and tunnels, it's quite different. Now, within tunnels, the tunnel companies gave permission for the installation of base stations within tunnels so that signals are received within tunnels. Now, as for lifts, it's quite different, and each building is different. Some have new elevators, some have old-style lifts. So Hong Kong situation is also quite different from that in other jurisdictions. Now, some advanced lifts in advanced buildings do receive the signals, but it's not the case for the majority of buildings. Will the government be motivated to change the situation? If the government requires that the buildings have such facilities, then people have to comply. Now, on tunnels and the indoor environments, can telecom signals be received? It depends on whether the management approves it. Now, right now, the telecom operators negotiate individually with the operators or owners of the venues. So the policy is that we have to recognize that is a matter between the operators. Now, if the government requires it, then they have to install it. Now, we've talked about this issue before. The answer was provided. Now, the owners' corporations have all the prerogative. Now, if the government introduces a law, then the OCs have to comply. Next, Paul Chair. Now, looking at paragraph 6 of the document, Create Smart Initiative. Now, CSI, we of course welcome such a scheme to help the young people. Now, we have to inject $300 million more. Now, 80% of the money was used in the past. Now, so it's about $2 million assistance per project. Now, will the government review the effectiveness of this initiative? For instance, what types of creative industries or initiatives are assisted? For instance, brand development or IT, or do you target businesses or young people? Now, on the effectiveness, can you tell us which brands received what benefits and what creative efforts have been enhanced? Now, so can we have such information, Mr. Liu? Now, at present, our timetable is that on 4th of February, at the ITB panel, we will report to the House Committee how within November and December the participants of the CSI, including the organizations submitting applications and the members of the vetting panels and other trade associations, labor unions, and other stakeholders. Now, we conducted a detailed review with them, and internally we have done a more detailed study regarding the parameters raised by Mr. Chair to assess the effectiveness so that we can give an account to the House Committee, and that was done on 4th of February. Now, that will be done on the 4th of February. Now, can you give a report on the past 3 years? What's the average amount per project? For instance, $2 million. Now, of course, we can provide some general information. Now, at the Create Smart initiative, at the Create Hong Kong website, there is already some information available. Leung Kwok Hong, last member to speak. Now, Mr. So has served as secretary, having been promoted from undersecretary. Now, it's not that we don't have the right people, but the person filling the job, the persons filling the jobs are not the right people. They are not normal, proper people. Now, Mr. Tang said he said that he will work on freedom of speech, but you started a cultural revolution and you kicked out some people, and you blamed on the young people. You said you are giving opportunity to the young. Now, Mr. So, why don't you look at me? You dare not. Now, Chairman Mao said after the policy has been set, the cadres will decide everything. You are the cadres, Mr. So. You are trying to help the rich, and if for projects that don't make money, you try to root out any, to kick out any people who oppose your line. Now, cable TV, the rates have risen now because there's no competition. Now, Mr. Wong of CityCom has made that very clear. There's no competition, so you benefit only the rich. When we want to watch some European soccer show, we have to pay extra money. Now, you said that you would inject $300 million. Well, there was no justice in how you disperse the money. Well, you don't need an undersecretary. Mr. C.Y. Leung is talking about members of committees. Now, well, it's like Chiang Kai-shek. He was a chief chairman of committees. Now, you have many fans. Now, you have party committee members within the mainland. This is quite similar. So it's now time. Chairman, this policy address is pragmatic and is for the public. We are telling this panel about our work in the forthcoming year.